Steve, tell me a little bit about the Contra Dance.
History or just...
Whatever strikes your fancy.
Well, it's, one way it's been described to me is back before mass communications and all. There were social events where people would come from all over the place and discuss, births, deaths, things like that. How's the crops going? Can you help me with my barn? Things like that. And that's what one way this has been explained. And since you're dancing with everybody in the hall, you can be dancing with 200 people. And the only time you see them is when there's a dance. So it's an old social thing from the colonial days, or pre-electronic telegraph, whatever, mass media.
So where does the word contra come from?
Well, that's up for debate. One theory is that it comes from, if you Google Contra Dance, D-A-N-S-E, it's a French form of dancing. And another is that it's got to do with the lines. They're going contra to each other, so they're moving, the people here are moving this direction down the line, and the people facing this direction are moving this direction up the line, so they're moving contra to each other.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Right. That's another theory I've heard. But it's one of those lost in history things, I think.
Bow to your neighbor. Take hands for, please. There is a theory when teaching that if you speak softer, the students will be with your partner either have your back to the music. That's it. Keep moving. Keep moving. You got it. Okay. I want you to practice one move before we actually start the dance. So let's first of all make sure we have enough room. Take hands in long lines. And keeping the W's in your hands, we're not stretching out hands like this. Keep the W's, but stretch out a little bit so you're comfortable distance from each other. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I see it happening. Okay, take hands again in your foursome. You're trying to confuse me. I did that once to a caller. With that same neighbor, Allemande right, go all the way around. Now ladies, with the other lady, Allemande left, go once and halfway forward. You have exchanged places. You're in front of your partner. With your partner, balance and swing. Step forward, step back, and swing. Allemande left. Now join hands, circle left. With your neighbor, Allemande right. And ladies, Allemande left. Go once and halfway forward. Hold your partner with your partner. You balance here. Swing that partner. Go round and round. Put her on the right and promenade across. Roll away to the half that Jenny saw. Right.
second, right here. And Jane, what's your last name?
Ewing.
Jane Ewing.
Ewing from Grant, Alabama.
And you're called the caller.
I am the caller.
And so tell me a little bit about Contra Dancing.
Contra dancing is, to me, a form of communication. It's what our forefathers used to get to know each other, but to also draw their community together and make it a firmer, stronger community. If you picture the area around here, around Chartanooga, there are small mountains everywhere, and you either lived on one side of the mountain or the other or somewhere in between. To visit your neighbors was an all-day trip, not a zip down the interstate. You couldn't call them, you couldn't email them, you had to talk to them face to face. So at events like Sunday after church, maybe a potluck, weddings, funerals, great times for a dance, a fiddler would appear, a dime a dozen, but we don't like to tell our fiddlers that nowadays, but he'd be playing off in the corner. This is the only opportunity they're going to have to hear music. They want to enjoy the music, but they also must communicate with their neighbors so their community can bind together for stronger and for livelihood. You need to know if Martha had her baby yet. And you know, Jane, my peaches are real peppy this year. I can't make my jellies or anything. And hey, Bob, I got this little fuzzy worm on my cotton this year. And my calves, they're all birthing backwards this year. Well, you had to form this bind with your neighbors. So when there was a problem, that's who you lived with. That's who you depended on. At these events, the fiddler's playing. They want to enjoy the music, but there's a desperate need to communicate. So what developed was the only form of dance in the world where the band starts, the dancers start. When the band ends, each dancer has laid hands upon everyone in the line. Once you know what you're doing in the dance, you can have in-depth conversations and you can find out everything about what's going on in your neighborhood.
Thank you.
Okay?
So it's, you know what it seems like to me a little bit? I know that it's Mary